Okay, it is 12:30 my time, 11:30 Pacific, time to get started, and I'm really excited to be here with all you guys today. And I know Cara and I have been talking a lot about this topic behind the scenes because we've heard from the attorneys that we're speaking with that social media is something they are heavily focused on and aren't quite sure how to use social media in a way that impacts the bottom line. I think the word that Cara has shared with me is, hey, it feels like I'm getting crickets. And Cara, maybe you can share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's like what everyone is talking about right now. And really so few law firms and attorneys are doing it well when we're talking about social media. So I'm really excited about this session. It's certainly been the direction that we've been taking our marketing amplifier program. So, there's such a difference in just putting out content and with kind of no strategy and no plan. And most of the time you are going to get those crickets, right? There's not going to be much engagement or much traction when that is the approach taken. Or, the flip side of that is you just don't know where to start. So you haven't started. So it's kind of, I think we're going to tackle all of that today, but we're happy to answer any of your questions as we go along. But this is definitely a hot topic for us right now. Traditionally, our industry has been a bit behind the curve, right, when it comes to social media. And I feel like we're finally sort of catching up to the broader business community who, that has just long really leveraged social media, and things change so quickly. So it's important to kind of stay up to date. But yes, I'm excited, Lauren, and let's go for it.
Yeah, and if you are new to these sessions, we host these once a month. We have a different topic every month. And my goal with these sessions is really to help you look at some of these topics from a strategic standpoint. So when Cara talks about how do we get better results from social media, how do we look at this from a strategic standpoint, how do we understand what to do? I think foundationally knowing how do all the pieces work and what should I really expect from my social media efforts and where should I be directing people really helps you not only get better marketing performance there, but better direct anyone you're working with, whether it's a member on your team, you've outsourced this to an agency, but you're able to ask better questions about, hey, are we doing this? Hey, are we doing this? How can we do more of X, Y, Z? And I think sometimes part of the lack of results on social media is not really understanding how social media fits into the marketing, and really just this kind of set it and forget it approach, which is, hey, we're just going to schedule out content and then that's supposed to bring in clients or that's supposed to bring in leads, but we're really not going to look at it strategically. And we're just going to have someone on our team, maybe a assistant, and they're just going to make sure that whatever we're posting on our blog goes out on social media. And I think social media has changed a lot in the past few years, and that's not really an approach that's working as well anymore. It's more competitive. People are getting bombarded by a lot of other messages, and to stand out there, it's really important that you take a more strategic approach, which is what I'm hoping to walk you guys through today. So again, I want to make your law firm growth simpler by making online marketing simpler. If you've kind of been paying attention to the social media world, it feels like there's a new platform every month or even every quarter, right? Clubhouse, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm trying to think what else has come and gone. Periscope, like there's things that come and go pretty quickly. And so part of social media is staying ahead of the curve, but also being really strategic in deciding where am I going to play and what am I going to ignore? Because sometimes trying to do everything on all the platforms isn't a very effective approach. And it's what results in that crickets, because you're trying to be everywhere and not necessarily doing it very well, because it's hard to do social media well if you just have that set it and forget it kind of approach. So I'd just love to ask you guys in the chat, when you think about your current social media marketing performance, like how your social media is performing in terms of generating leads and prospects for your firm, I want to know what grade you would give it in your opinion from A to F, just like a traditional schooling. grade. And if you could just include in the chat a little explainer of why you're giving it that grade. And yes, the point, Allison, is to be honest, and there's no judgment here. Social media is hard. It's just to get an idea of where you guys feel, what you guys feel is working well and what you feel is not working so well. Yep. Great. So never have time, not growing as fast as you'd like, not really generating leads. Great. Not doing what you would like for it to do. So Christopher, if you could just expand on that, that would be fabulous. Jonathan, you're saying D, Google My Business has generated a few clients. And I do find it a little interesting, Jonathan, that you're grouping Google My Business into a social media platform. And I guess I'm wondering, are you talking specifically about reviews on Google My Business, or maybe more of the Google Plus platform and sharing content there? Okay, great. We're consistent about posting and getting content out at least. Yes, that is half the battle. Okay, so Cara, I'd just love for you to share a little bit about what you hear too behind the scenes around how people would grade their marketing, social media marketing performance.
Yeah, I mean, typically I hear about a lot of stops and starts. That's kind of what I hear. I mean, I talk to dozens of attorneys every week, and there's a lot of, I tried. For a few weeks, a few months, I was really active on Facebook. I had, someone in-house who was shooting videos for me. We were really, sort of trying to build up our presence on Instagram. And then pressing client matters crept in like they always do, right? And kind of derailed those plans. So typically when I'm talking to the attorneys, they're not so, they don't grade, they wouldn't grade their social media efforts too high. And that's typically kind of why we're talking. And, I love to kind of give that advice on, there's some pretty easy wins that we'll talk about today too, that you can implement today that can really kind of tweak that. But so much of what I hear is time. How do you kind of stay consistent, which that's such an important thing on social media, right? Is that week over week consistency of, not just sporadically posting when you think of it, but, how can your followers start to expect highly valuable, educational and entertaining and engaging content from you. So I'm certainly not hearing, a bunch of A's when I talk to attorneys. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned some really good points. And I'd say when we look in the chat too, we're not seeing any A pluses coming through here. And I just want to normalize that that's okay, because social media is a lot of work, but we want to kind of simplify it for you here and make it easier for you. But I just want to normalize, there are reasons that large companies have entire social media departments, because it's not a small amount of work. And so if it's just you and a team member, and you're serving clients, it can be hard to do it all well, right? And what comes first is serving your clients. So, and there's different pieces. There's posting consistent content, there's getting engagement, there's moving people into leads and prospects and clients, and how do you get in front of new people? So there's all these different components that we're going to talk to today. And I think sometimes we focus solely on, how can I post consistent content? How do I make sure I'm hitting that frequency? But we don't have enough time for everything else. And based on what I'm seeing here in the chat, that kind of seems like where people are at is, hey, I'm more or less posting consistently with perhaps some stops and starts, but I'm not seeing those bottom line results that I'm hoping to see from social media. Okay, so we are here to talk about social media funnels specifically today, and I just want to define a few things so we're all on the same page. And from my standpoint, a funnel is the journey your client takes to purchase, or in other words, a series of very specific steps designed to move your prospect through the buying process. Meaning, if I am considering a business attorney, I don't immediately jump to, hey, let me go hire someone. I'm going to move through a very set of specific steps before I'm going to be willing to hire, for example, Stacy, or before I'm going to consider Stacy against Jonathan against Anna, right? So when we're thinking about social media, we want to think about, hey, there are a set of very specific steps that we want to move our followers through in order to turn them into leads, in order to turn them into clients. So on that note, one of the challenges I see with any marketing effort, but especially social media, is that we focus too much on lead generation only. And we don't think about how are we qualifying the leads that are coming our way and how are we nurturing them so that by the time they're ready to make a buying decision, they choose us. Not everyone, and it really depends on your practice specialty, but not everyone's going to be ready to buy within a period of 2 days. Maybe if it's personal injury, maybe if it's a very specific painful problem, but most people need some time to evaluate, is my problem severe enough to hire an attorney? What kind of attorney do I need? Which attorney is the one that's going to be a best fit for me based on my, not only my unique problem, but also who I think I'm going to be able to work with best, who I'm going to enjoy working with. I'm not sure anyone enjoys the whole legal process, but who I think can solve my problem. So there are a lot of different pieces to this. And I encourage you, when you're thinking about your social media, is not only how am I getting new leads and followers, but how am I qualifying them and knowing whether they're hot or warm, and how am I staying in front of them? So I'm going to use this Venn diagram to filter everything we're doing from a funnel standpoint on social media. But I think it helps for attorneys to think about, oh, it's not just about my new leads. What am I doing with the leads I get in order to sort them into warm and hot buckets and stay in front of them? And I know, Cara, you hear this a lot, which is like, I need more leads, more leads, more leads. And I'd love if you could share a little bit about sometimes that lower hanging fruit that you see, which is what are you doing with the leads that you're already getting?
Yeah, I mean, spot on, Lauren. That's exactly, there's so much focus on that sort of top of funnel volume. How do I throw more leads into the top, when often there's not much infrastructure or, system or process or coordinated approach in place to then, qualify and of course, nurture those leads. 9 times out of 10, the law firms that I'm talking to, the lowest hanging fruit is right there in that qualification and that nurturing, right? So, a lot of times it's even hard to realize that you do have this bucket of prospective clients who have inquired in one way or another. If that's just as simple as request a download, a valuable piece of educational material from you, whether it's, someone who's actually completed a contact form on your website, whatever it is, whatever action they've taken, and then they haven't immediately signed with you, that's the area that we're talking about. And there can be just so much opportunity there by putting, some one-time kind of systems and processes in place that I'll let Lauren talk about. But absolutely, there's so much low-hanging fruit there.
Yeah, and I love the word infrastructure and systems that you use, because I think this can sound like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of work. And the point is to put in some infrastructure so these two pieces aren't a lot of work, and then you can focus more on lead generation. So I'm going to walk you through 4 steps today in order to create your social media funnel. And you'll see like this isn't that hard, and it can kind of run, parts of this can run on autopilot without that much of your involvement. So that's really my goal here today, is not to say, hey, there's this huge, complicated, time-intensive process that your whole team's going to need to be involved in. No, once it's set up, then you can kind of sort through your lead quality and stay in front of them without a ton of work on your end. Okay. So we talked a little bit about that, but the other thing I love about funnels, especially on social media, is it allows you to measure performance and then optimize the path to conversion, meaning the path to purchasing, so that you can drive more new clients. So if any of you on this call have ever tried paid social advertising and then felt like I spent a bunch of money but didn't see any results from this is where a funnel would come in. Once you get a funnel to work well organically, you know how well it performs. And then layering on paid advertising on top of that is likely to perform a lot better. The goal of marketing is not to needlessly spend a bunch of money that doesn't really impact your bottom line. The goal of marketing is to say, hey, I'm investing X amount a month in all my marketing channels. And then that's resulting in, at some point, whether it's 1 month or 6 months from now, new clients that are coming in the door. So I'd love to just hear too in the chat, has anyone tried social ads? And if so, just give them a little grade on how well they worked for you as well.
I would love to hear that too, because exactly what you just described is typically what I'm hearing, right? Is, some attorneys are trying, kind of dabbling in Facebook advertising, for instance, themselves. In some cases, really throwing a lot of money into sort of unproven campaigns, meaning, not a lot of testing is occurring before kind of, really opening up the pocketbook. So, and again, if that kind of back end system isn't in place, it's really easy to, unfortunately, throw a lot of money away doing this. So yeah, I'm interested. Let us know in the chat. Have you tried it? Have you considered it? How have sort of paid social ads performed for you guys?
Yeah, and just to clarify, paid social ads could be YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok now allows you to do that, LinkedIn as well. So it's just that you're paying to get your content or paying to get your funnel in front of people rather than relying solely on your organic reach. Okay, Allison has tried, but suspect she was not using them well. Anna has also tried, and I'd love to know, did you guys run it yourself or did you work with someone else too? Because that, I think, is also helpful information for what I'm going to be showing you.
And maybe you can talk to what you were offering. What were you promoting? Were you just promoting sort of a free consult? Were you offering some sort of giveaway? That kind of insight is helpful too. So I know there's more folks on here who have experimented with ads.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Facebook leads were waste. Yeah, I've heard that before. Okay, so while you guys are sharing, I'm going to keep teaching and then I will circle back on what you guys share in the comments. Okay, so in general, marketing is a numbers game. You need a certain number of qualified eyeballs to get a certain number of qualified leads to get a certain number of clients. This is really what we're talking about when we're talking about a funnel. Let's say you have 100 qualified eyeballs, that turns into 10 qualified leads, and then that gets you 1 client. When you have some numbers like that, it really helps you understand, how do I scale this up so I can get more clients at the bottom of the funnel? Now, I want to give a quick caveat there is, it's not always that clean and that precise, those numbers. Things can change depending on what channel you're on, how well the funnel is working. But in general, when I'm saying we're making more data-driven decisions and a funnel allows you to measure performance, these are really the kind of numbers we want to see, which is, okay, I have 100 followers, 50 are engaged, I get 2 leads a month, and then I get 0.5 clients every month, right? So this is really what we would be working towards when we talk about putting a social funnel in place for you guys on your social media channels. And this doesn't matter what channel you're on, by the way, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, the foundation is the same. There's just some nuances in terms of content and features to each platform. But the nice part about what you're going to learn today is you can apply it to whatever channel you're on. Okay. In my opinion, you should be using a funnel everywhere you can, including all of your social media channels. But I would also argue, and if you haven't seen our marketing mentor session from last month, I will make sure to drop that link in the chat because you can access the replay. But you can use funnels on your website. You can use funnels in your email. This is not specific just to social media, although today we're going to be focusing on social media funnels only. Okay, so as I mentioned, 4 steps to creating a funnel. Step number 1 sounds really foundational, but getting clear on your target audience. This is especially perhaps challenging if you serve multiple specialties. So let's say you have a Facebook channel and you are talking about business law, personal injury, criminal law, and immigration. It becomes very hard for your target audience to find you, stick around, and feel like you're serving them. So in my opinion, a great place to start on social media is to pick your primary practice specialty or the one that you want to focus on most and start there, get the process down, get the social funnel working, and then add a second specialty. But I will let Cara speak to that because she's the one who speaks to attorneys day in and day out who have multiple specialties.
Yeah, well, I think, keeping it simple at first is smart, especially when we're just kind of trying to figure out who we're going to be able to attract and speak to, because you want to really narrow your message as much as you can to kind of tailor that that message to those folks that you want to attract. Certainly starting simply makes sense, but also, don't be afraid kind of as you figure things out to layer on those additional specialties. Because I will often get the question of, well, should I have, separate Facebook business profiles, for instance, for each of my areas of practice or each of my locations and that kind of thing. So, Lauren, maybe you can talk on that too, but, I do think just in general, starting simply makes sense. And then sort of layering on is smart.
Sure. So I think each profile you add is a significant amount of work. So if it were me, I would run everything from one profile, not from 4 different profiles if you have 4 specialties. But I would think about what are the common denominators between the people I serve in each of these specialties. So for example, let's say you do business and estates and you serve business owners with their, contracts, and you also do their estate planning. Well, that's the same target audience. You're just serving them in 2 different ways, right? So the content that you're delivering is going to be very similar. You're just going to talk about pain points and needs a little different, but it's not like you're serving business owners with business law and then a completely different audience with your estate specialty. So if you're going to do multiple specialties, I would just think about what are the common denominators between those target audiences. And there's 4 ways you can kind of narrow in on this target audience, and you can do just one of these, or you can layer on both. Number 3 is probably the one you guys are most familiar with, which is by geography, meaning by zip code, by state, by region. Really simply a way to say, hey, I only serve people in the Denver area, or I'm only serving people in Colorado. Demographics is more like gender, age, marital status, different things that are going to help you say, hey, I only serve, for example, female divorcees, or I only serve moms who are getting divorced. I only serve, let me give another, maybe Kara, you have another example because I'm looking for another, but
younger families, right?
There we go.
At their estate plans drafted, right? So I think Lauren makes such a good point too about finding that common denominator, because so much of the content, and we'll get specific about this, but so much of the content that you share, you want it to be entertaining and engaging. Not all of it needs to be 100%, focused on your area of practice. So it can actually really work in your favor if some of your followers kind of know you as a personal injury attorney, and then, you're kind of opening them up to, oh, he also handles DUIs. I didn't know that, my friend could really use his help. So, don't kind of pigeonhole yourself, but at the same time, you kind of, that variety of content is what is so important in creating that sort of authentic, genuine, a message that can really build the trust too.
Yeah. And so to that point, I think 2 and 4 are really interesting ways to narrow your target audience by psychographics and by behaviors. So for example, by a very specific value someone has. So maybe they are outdoor focused entrepreneurs, and that's who you like to target. Maybe you ride some mountain bikes, and so you kind of, all your content has this kind of slant to it that makes you feel really unique in the market. Doesn't mean you can't serve other people. That's just who you're going to try and attract with your social media content. Or maybe there's certain problems that they are facing right now. So maybe going back to that, moms who are getting divorced and want full custody of their kids. Maybe that's how you're going to narrow in on your target audience. And so I often get a lot of pushback on this, and I'm sure you do too, Kara. But this is really, I like to think of it as someone shared with me as a starter audience, starter market, not your only target market, where once you get this narrowed down and you get traction with this, you can then keep adding new target markets. But what it allows people to do on social media, say, yes, this person is for me, or no, they're not. So let me give you an example. I was speaking yesterday to an accountant, and she was sharing with me, She's one of the only accountants she knows who focuses on a specific vertical, photographers. And since she's done that, her business has blown up. It's so much easier for her to promote her content on social media. Photographers find her, they love her, like everything's growing without really a whole lot of work on her end, because it's so easy for people to share what she's sharing and say, yes, this is for me. Yes, this is for other photographers I know. So I encourage you, if you're feeling a little bit of pushback on this, to say, this is just where I'm starting and I can later expand my audience.
Yeah, that's smart. That's really smart.
And to Kara's point, the reason I'm focusing so much on target audience right now is because this is going to dictate the type of content you're posting. When we try to be everything to everyone, then we don't really attract the right people. When we focus on a very specific target audience, it's easy for people to raise their hand, and we repel the people that we don't want to serve, which I know sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but I think anyone on this webinar can say, hey, I've probably had a call with someone who I really didn't want to serve for whatever reason, they weren't the right fit. And that's really what we're trying to do with this target market, is not attract those people, because you don't want to spend time on a free consult with someone who you can't really serve.
Yeah, I mean, video and social media specifically, such wonderful tools for doing some of that deselling, right? For creating some of that exclusivity, because you can really, you're determining who you're willing to help, who you're best suited to help by the type of content, the type of videos that you're putting out there. It's a really, really great way to qualify those prospects, because if you're talking to folks that you really want to attract, you're obviously going to attract more of them. And if you're not really, sending the message to those people that are can be a bit of a waste of time, then you'll attract fewer of those as well. But I'm excited to talk about the content specifically, but we'll keep chugging.
Yeah. So for example, and I'm trying to look through the chat to see who was doing Facebook groups and focused on immigration, but I bet your group is growing a lot faster because you're focused primarily on immigration than trying to serve that entire group with a few different specialties. Okay. So I just love to know, with a quick number in the chat, how many practice areas are you currently promoting, or do you want to be promoting on your social media? Just 1, 2, 3, 7, whatever it is you guys are doing, just so I get a feel for where everyone's at. Beautiful. Okay, so step 2, put a qualification system in place so that you can turn followers into leads. This is one of the bigger mistakes I see on social media, which is expecting social media alone to move people through the funnel and down the buying process. Really, the point of social media is to get in front of your target audience and then help them take the next step. And if you don't create a clear path for someone, they will go wherever they want, and we don't really control what they see, how they see it. And so, for example, let's say I'm following Anna's content on social media and she doesn't lead me down a clear path. Okay, well, I might go check her out on Google My Business, and then maybe I'll go see another attorney who's also serving people in a similar way, and then I kind of get sidetracked and go down this rabbit hole. When you create a clear path, you really control what someone sees, when they see it, and it allows you to collect their contact information and say, I can keep following up with this person. So there's really 2 action paths that I want you to create in order to turn your followers into leads. So the first is a lead magnet, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But basically, you're trying to attract leads who are very early on in the buying process. They're not yet ready to make a buying decision. They're not yet ready to hire you, but they want more information, and they're interested in considering you as a possible solution to their problem. The second is an inquiry form. This attracts leads who are hot or almost ready to make a buying decision, and they're just kind of evaluating between 1, 2, or 3 attorneys and saying, okay, I'm going to make a decision here pretty quickly. When you give your followers these 2 options, it allows them to raise their hand and let you know, hey, I might be considering you as a possible attorney I'm going to hire, and please send me more information. So here's the ways you can do this. A lead magnet is really just a free piece of content that's gated, meaning someone has to enter their email address and maybe phone number in order to get access to it. A good example of this would be James Amplifier's 100 to 300 page book, which I'll let Cara speak to a little bit, but basically someone has a problem, they know they have a problem, but they want to learn more information about the ways they can solve it, or if common questions they might be having about their situation. So Cara, I'll let you take it from here.
Oh, yeah, sure. So, I mean, this is a good example. And, this is the 100 to 300 page frequently asked questions specialty specific book is, of course, included in the Marketing Amplifier program, and I'll talk about it. But yours doesn't need to be, your lead magnet doesn't need to be, this in depth. So, keep in mind if you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to sit down and write a 100-page book? You can start simply with a one-page checklist or something like that. But certainly, these branded books are highly effective. It's one of the first things we actually implement as part of your program. So we add a pop-up on your website that offers the branded educational book in exchange for their contact information, as Lauren was saying. So, undoubtedly you have a group, could be a rather large group of your website visitors who are coming. They're not quite ready to book that consult, maybe not quite ready to pick up the phone and give you a call, right? But they're, like Lauren says, looking to gather more information, looking to get some of their questions answered. Perhaps they're interviewing several attorneys to find out kind of who is the best fit, for them to hire. So rather than those folks sort of leaving without a trace, we would never even know they were on your site, maybe reading a blog post or two, and then they leave. We're able to really help you capture that prospective client by offering this educational, highly valuable lead magnet, this book, in exchange for contact information. And then, we're really able to automatically nurture them and continue to stay in touch. And so that, when they are ready to hire an attorney, you're the one that's been helping them along. You're the one that's top of mind, and certainly, the one that they think of. So this is a highly effective, very few law firm websites that I visit, and I visit a lot of them every day, have a simple lead magnet like this in place. So an offer for valuable information in exchange for contact info. That's all it is. And it's amazing how you can really see an uptick in your conversion rate, the number of visitors who actually set appointments or give you a call if you're offering this sort of top of funnel helpful information and then nurturing them through to that inquiry.
Yeah, and if you're listening to Cara and hearing her say, put this on your website, and you're wondering, how does that relate to social media? Well, it relates a few different ways. One, when your website is in your social media bio, people are going to go to your website if they want to check out more. Two, I would actually even consider having a link in your bio that leads straight to a landing page that promotes your lead magnet, where that's the only thing that page is designed to do is turn traffic into email subscribers. And then three, I would periodically promote the lead magnet only in a dedicated post. So maybe once a month, you're promoting the lead magnet so that any current or new followers you have know, hey, here's a place where I can get more information. And you probably see lead magnets all the time in your experience on the internet. Common places you'll see this in other industries is, for example, giveaways, when people say, hey, enter to win your dream house from HGTV, or get 10% off your first purchase at Nordstrom. So I encourage you, as you look around the web, to think about how are they using lead magnets, because you'll see they're everywhere. And there's a reason people use them, is because they're very effective, and anonymous traffic or followers isn't enough to turn someone into a lead. And that's why we have this clear action path. So here's a few places you can feature lead magnet and a pop-up on your website. You can link to it in your email signature. I encourage you to include it in your social media profile bios. And then when you start running some social ads, you could even send traffic straight to your lead magnet, where the whole purpose of that traffic is to opt in and grab that piece of content. Okay, so action path number 2 is an inquiry form. This is for those hot leads I mentioned. People are like, hey, I'm trying to get an attorney to help me quickly. I'm ready to get more information. I want to have a call. I want to speak to someone. I want to talk about next steps. Now, in my opinion, a contact form is not enough for hot leads. I see this mistake a lot with attorneys, and I'll let Cara speak to this too, but frequently you have to go to a contact form. It says name, email, message, and it doesn't really take someone down a clear path of, hey, book a call with me, tell me a little bit about your case so that I have some information before I jump on the phone with you. So I just love to hear in the chat, are you using a contact form, or do you have a more dedicated inquiry form that you're using to book a consult? And I'll just say, shorter is not better in this instance. Asking a few detailed questions can be really helpful. Not only does it give you the opportunity to have a more value-packed consultation, but two, it lets the prospect know I'm in good hands. This person knows what questions to ask me in order to deliver valuable service to me. Great. So Anna and Chris are saying a contact form. Great. This is a super easy change you can make on your site that you will find does wonderful things for your traffic. You will get more bookings when you lead someone down a dedicated path. And last but not least, on the back end of the form submission, give someone an opportunity to book directly in your calendar. Like, let's not waste all this back and forth between your assistant or anyone else to get something scheduled. They're ready. They want to talk to you. We have all these amazing, great softwares today, Acuity, Calendly, Schedule Once, that allow people to book on your calendar immediately. So how great would it be to show up every week and know, hey, my marketing efforts are resulting in 3 calls on my calendar, and I didn't even have to have a discussion with someone before that call happened. So Cara, maybe you can talk a little bit about how you're seeing attorneys use inquiry forms to generate more leads.
Yeah, there's a huge opportunity here. And by putting the your direct calendar booking link sort of behind this more sort of thorough inquiry form, you're sort of protecting that calendar link too, right? They have to get through that first stage of providing more information, answering some of those qualifying questions. How immediate is your legal need, right? And getting some information that will really help your intake specialist or whoever is manning the new prospect flow, will able to, one, better service that individual, right? But also, if they get through that inquiry form, they're obviously a more serious prospect, right? And then you serve them up that calendar link. The mistake tends to come when you're just, serving up that calendar link on every single page, maybe part of your live chat even, and yeah, you get unqualified appointments that way, and you're wasting your time, you're wasting the team's time that way. So it's important to sort of protect that calendar, offer it, absolutely, because these folks are ready to talk to you. But that's how we do it here with our own marketing is, we're inviting you to this presentation. We're really kind of describing the value that you will receive by attending this seminar live. And then once you've registered, you see a little bit more, you get a little bit more information about how we might be able to help you and how then you can set an appointment, directly with me. So that is a proven technique. I mean, I want to get the number right. I believe it was, we increased our appointment rate by 25% once we kind of added the video to the thank you page, right? Explaining kind of the value that you would get during the appointment, what to expect on the appointment, and then, automatically kind of entering, using that calendar booking link. So, again, it's pretty rare that I see this kind of multi-step approach. Almost every site has the traditional contact form, and that just doesn't give you, to Lauren's point, it just doesn't give you that insight. And of course, you're going to be sifting through those unqualified prospects. So tons of opportunity. And again, it's not complicated. It's a set it up once, really, and kind of let it go to work for you in some, varying ways too.
Yeah, and some of the pushback I often hear on this is, oh, but what if someone doesn't fill out my form and I lose this valuable lead? And I'd say, as an attorney, you need a willing and compliant client who's going to be able to follow your instructions, send you information when you ask for it, and do so quickly. And if they can't do that in a basic form, then they're probably going to be a bit challenging on the back end, right? If there's some complaints that happen on, oh, this form is too long, or, oh, I can't send you some basic information about my case, then, you're going to have to, it's just going to be challenging. So I'd argue this is a way to get better hot leads. And if someone's not a good fit and you see that on the back end of the form, someone on your team can reach out and say, hey, we saw some of the information about your case. we understand you need help. We're not the right place, and here's why, but we recommend you reach out to this firm instead. As the lead attorney, as one of the higher value team members on the organization, you only want to be spending your time with people who are ready to go, close to ready to go, and are a really good fit for who you want to serve. So this lead magnet is a great way. The first action path is a great way to funnel everyone through. And then save your precious time for the best, most qualified prospects. Yeah, and Anna's saying we get a lot of out-of-state people or non-case people waste a lot of our time. Yeah, this inquiry form would help you a lot. And you could ask what state they're in, and then when they fill anything out besides the state you're in, you can say, hey, we really don't serve that state, but here's where you should go.
Yeah, and video is such a great way to sort of bolster this process up too, right? So either if they are qualified, you can explain why you're asking all of these questions, right? And you can explain why it's actually, gonna be able to empower you to provide better service. So, kind of talking, creating that transparency through video, through a quick video could be really helpful. And for those unqualified too, so that, it's not just, we're not going to contact you. And, there's not a lot of context, just shooting one video that kind of gives them a little bit more information into who you do serve could be helpful as well.
Yeah, and Michael's asking for a specific recommendation for a tool. I think Gravity Forms is really great for WordPress. And if you have a calendar link, sometimes you can include those fields as a precursor to booking the calendar. So Calendly allows you to do this, Schedule Once allows you to do this. So you may even decide, I don't necessarily need it as a part of my WordPress website. I just want to get started really quickly and don't have a dev in-house or outsource to help me with this. So you or your team could set it up really easily with one of these calendar tools. You're welcome, Michael. Okay, so to recap, you know who you're serving, and you know who you're going to be speaking to on social media. And now you have 2 action paths to move people from follower into the next step with you. So step 3 is creating this lead nurturing system. So remember at the beginning of this presentation, I talked about sometimes we focus too much on generating more leads, and we really need to talk about what are we doing with these leads who need more time before they're going to take the next step with us. So for example, some of the leads that are going to come through this lead magnet, you really need a nurturing system in place that's going to allow you to give more information, answer their basic questions, share more about you and your firm in an automated way. You don't have time to follow up with every lead. You don't want to follow up with every lead manually who may or may not be a good fit. And while this is an old study, I think it's a great quote. Nurtured leads on average produce a 20% increase in sales opportunities. So I just want you to think about your current lead volume, and if 20% more of those leads converted into clients, what would that mean for your firm? And I'm guessing most businesses would be super happy with a 20% increase in sales opportunity. We don't need a 500% increase or a 3,000% increase. There's some really easy ways to do this that don't require a lot of your time. So let's talk through some of what that would look like. 1, you could manually follow up, time consuming, not that great. 2, you could use this one-to-many follow-up approach, which is easy to scale and great for warm leads and past clients who are often referral sources for you. So in my opinion, the way to do this is to send regular emails to your list of leads and clients. I get pushback on this a lot. I know Cara probably does too, but people often say, hey, I'm afraid of being spammy. I'm not sure what to write about. I nurture my leads on social media. I don't need email. And I'm going to address all of those. 1, if someone has a problem and they've opted in to something from you, they want more information. So you're not being spammy. They can always unsubscribe if they no longer need your help and no longer need the information. I'm not sure what to write about. That I'm going to let Cara speak to in a minute, but we at James have this entire library of content where you don't have to figure out what to write about. We know what works. We have fabulous information that's specific to your specialty, and you don't have to write anything if you don't want to. And then 3, I nurture my leads on social media. I don't need email. Whether we like it or not, we do not own our follower list on social media. That is owned by Facebook. That is owned by LinkedIn. That is owned by Twitter. And we don't control the algorithm update. So we might be getting great engagement, great viewership on social media, and then all of a sudden there's an algorithm update and our reach drops, our engagement drops, and we don't have a way to keep following up with these people. So having someone's contact information is something you own, something you can control the placement in the inbox better than you can on social media. So the goal of social media is really to get in front of new people or existing people and move them to this next step, which is lead magnet or inquiry form, and then keep following up with them through email. Cara, yeah, I'm gonna let you,
Yeah, I was just gonna say also, like a common misconception that I've heard just within the last couple of weeks is, well, as long as, you know, prospect is my follower, they'll see all of my content, right? And they're going to see every single post that I put out there as long as they're my follower, right? And sadly, that is not the case. In fact, you know, that might be quite the opposite. And in other words, I mean, everyone knows how sort of fleeting content can be on social media. So one, it's just likely they might miss it. Two, depending on, you know, the engagement and you know, the type of kind of the priority that Facebook, for instance, is giving your content, they may not be serving it up to as many of your followers as, you know, they once were. So there's so much more that needs to be in place. But again, you know, set it up once, but once the system is in place, you know, you'll really see that impact. And this is really what we offer with our marketing amplifier and our social amplifier programs. It's, you know, not only all of the content that you need, all the scripts for videos that you need, but it's that nurturing sequence that can make all the difference when you're continuing to educate those prospects in an automated way and you're staying top of mind. So, you know, it's really important to think about all of these other steps that really contribute to that end goal of, you know, more appointments, more clients, right? So it's not just, you can't rush this process. I often talk about it in that way of, you can't just take someone from a lead magnet directly to an appointment all the time, right? There's a lot that kind of needs to happen. You need to build trust. I mean, typically, you know your prospects, right? They're dealing with a situation, typically a very scary situation that they know very little about. So you can imagine how important it would be to build that trust, to distinguish yourself, and to provide, you know, that content that helps them be confident that you specifically are the best attorney to handle their case. Talk about those past clients that you've helped. Get specific. Talk about, you know, cases with different sort of varying fact patterns, right? So that they can see you talk about a legal situation that's very similar to the situation that they're experiencing. You know, all of this really goes into that trust and that long-term, you know, branding and really kind of ways to distinguish yourself. So don't think about this as a, you know, I offer a lead magnet and I get, you know, more clients right away. But if you do put these steps in place, what Lauren is talking about, this infrastructure, undoubtedly, there is no doubt that you will see an increase. And it's about consistency. It's about providing that value. And it's about having the follow-up steps that in many cases can be automated, right? That's important to remember. Much of this can be automated, should be automated, set up one time. Minor tweaks along the way is all that might be necessary to really have this machine continue. So, those are the things I hear all the time from attorneys, right? Is like everything that you're saying is, how do I do that? I don't have content. What do I talk about? What do I write? How do I start? So we can certainly help with all of that, but also just sit down and think about the questions you get all the time from your clients and from your prospects. You know, those common questions, those frequently asked questions. Each of those make for a great video, right? Make for a great follow-up email. This doesn't need to be too complicated. Just, you know, simplify it, set aside a little bit of time, and you'll really start to make some headway on it.
Yeah. And to Cara's point earlier about, hey, social media is enough. I don't need email. If you've been on Facebook for a while, you will know that Facebook page reach and engagement has dropped significantly over the past 8 years. And I just want to remind you that the whole point of social media platforms is to make money. And the way they do that is by forcing you to advertise on there. So it's in their benefit for organic reach to decrease year over year, and for you to feel like, oh, I have to pay to get in front of people. And I'm not saying there's not a place for paid advertising, but having this infrastructure in place shields you a little bit from those type of changes that are going to happen, because we don't control social media platforms. So I think it's fabulous that we have this free place where we can get in front of our target audience. And I want you to feel like, hey, I'm generating leads and I'm following up with them and they're turning into appointments, whether it's 2 days or 6 months down the line. Okay, so as I was mentioning earlier, there's 4 steps to creating a social media funnel. I was working on this presentation and I thought, oh my gosh, people are gonna be listening and they're gonna be like, hey, these first 3 steps, we aren't even talking about social media yet. But the reason I talk about these 3 things is because you need this foundation in place in order to see those bottom line results from your social media efforts. So now we are gonna move on to probably the piece you guys have all been waiting for, which is, what the heck do I post on social media in order to see better results? Here's what I'm gonna tell you. Let's skip past this. Again, to the point of a funnel is we want to create social content for all stages of awareness. Remember, funnel is talking about those specific steps people go through, not always linearly, by the way, but that they go through before they're going to become a client. So this is a mistake I see frequently on many social media accounts, which is all I'm going to talk about is, hey, book an appointment with me. Hey, here's why we're the best. Hey, why haven't you booked an appointment with us yet? Like, here's our frequently asked questions, and that's it. Okay, well, that is not a very exciting account to follow. Doesn't really tell me a lot about something I care about. Inherently, we're all selfish individuals. We care about our problems, not necessarily about you and why you're the best. So we need to think about the stages of awareness and what do people need to understand, believe, hear from us in order to stick around and take the next step with us. So I'm going to talk through these 5 stages of awareness, and I'm going to tell you about the different types of content you should be posting regularly in order to help people purchase from you more quickly, assuming that their legal situation allows for that, or become a client more quickly. And sorry, I use the term purchase and become a client interchangeably, but it doesn't mean I don't understand that you're talking about clients and not e-commerce buyers. So 5 stages of awareness we have are unaware, problem aware. And if, by the way, you are wondering, are we going to get access to this replay? We are going to email the recording out in case you want to share with team members or anyone who might be working on your social media so they see these specific pieces of content. But we're looking at unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and most aware. If you do any sort of research online about stages of awareness and marketing, there are a few different names for this. These are the 5 stages of awareness according to Eugene Schwartz, a master marketer. But sometimes you'll see that this is presented differently, like aware, consideration, engagement. So just so you know, same type of, the foundation is the same. The types of content you're going to be producing are the same. Okay, so let's talk about the unaware stage. In this stage, your prospect has no idea they have a problem or pain point. It's a super difficult stage to start advertising from. And I don't want you to waste your precious resources. I think you'll be fighting an uphill battle and you're not likely to make any sales on the back end of this. So let's give an example. Let's say your target audience is moms, divorced moms, but you want to advertise to moms who aren't even considering divorce. They don't even know that might be a viable option for them. And you're going to start putting content in front of them. You may or may not know when or if those people are going to convert. There is a place for this in advertising, but typically when you have a very, very large budget, probably VC funded, and you have a huge team. So this is not the place that I recommend most attorneys start from. So I would not create any unaware content. But then we come to problem aware. And in this stage, your prospect understands they have a problem or pain point, but they don't have a solution. And this is where most advertising starts. So problem-aware prospects care about their challenges, their pain points, the things that keep them up at night, how they feel, and the status in the world. So think about that mom who's considering a divorce. This might be, hey, how am I going to pay the bills when I'm a single income family? What's going to happen to my children? oh, how do we make sure that this co-parenting thing works and my children aren't damaged by the back end of this divorce? Am I even going to be able to do all this on my own? What are the repercussions going to be when I serve my husband and let him know I want a divorce, right? These are the things that keep them up at night. And some really great content for this is education around their pain points and possible solutions, and then actionable content to build trust and authority. So think about like 3 steps you should do if you're considering divorcing your husband. 4 considerations that you need to keep in mind to protect your children during a divorce, right? Really easy, actionable content, but that allows you to stand out as an authority. Doesn't have to be this big life-changing piece of content, just has to give them a little bit of more insight into their problem and what they should be doing. So Cara, maybe you could talk a little bit about this and the types of content that you're seeing attorneys create that's educating around pain points and possible solutions.
Yeah, well, I mean, you gave some really great examples, Lauren, because, you know, the focus needs to be on being helpful to, providing value to those, folks who haven't yet hired an attorney, right? And know that, again, they have this problem, but may not even understand how an attorney might be able to help at this point. So, putting out content that talks about, you and your awards and your accomplishments, it's just not compelling, right? Because who is going to follow an attorney before they need an attorney unless you're providing content that is helpful in their life right now. So Lauren provided some really great examples. It's about kind of tapping into, what that prospect might be dealing with now before they even realize that they need an attorney. And then that's kind of how you're showcasing, your expertise, and you're really providing that genuine, authentic value, and you are kind of taking them on that journey with you. So this is super important. Definitely the biggest mistake I see, quite frankly, is that disconnect between, the law firms who are just talking about how great they are and sort of why they should be hired. It's tough to get traction on social media that way, but kind of taking a step back and again, just kind of putting yourself in the shoes of your prospects, your eventual prospects, can really go such a long way. So this is absolutely critical when putting out content that's going to get, it's going to be engaging and really get any kind of traction.
Yeah, and I think compare this to, for example, a relationship you have in your life, friend, family member, whomever. When there is someone who does a whole lot of taking and not a whole lot of giving, we're not really like excited to keep showing up, right? This is your opportunity to give, so that when someone thinks about hiring someone, you are the first person that comes to mind, because they're like, oh my gosh, Jonathan Hale is so amazing. He knows everything there is to know about immigration law, and that's who I should be working with. I already know X, Y, Z, and E because he's told me about it. And this helps you create better clients. If they already understand the basics and the fundamentals before they even hire you, then they're going to ask better questions. You aren't going to have to do as much education when you start onboarding. And so I think this is a really great opportunity as well to just create better clients with your free content on social media, and also gives people an opportunity to refer you to someone who's having that problem. So just to clarify here, the individual knows they have a problem. They don't yet know what the solution is. So again, let's say I'm your target audience and I'm thinking about getting divorced. Well, I might have 3 other moms in my mom network who are also in the same boat. And I might share with them this great piece of content that you have around 4 ways to protect your children during divorce, right? So it's really easy to share. And sharing, by the way, doesn't always have to be public, right? I think the challenge with attorney social media, sometimes these are very, very sensitive matters. And think about social media too, especially in the specialty that you serve as. How can I create content so valuable, but that people will share it privately? I might not see that they DM'd or private messaged or shared a link to a friend through email, but this is so valuable that people are willing to share it and say, hey, someone can learn from this.
Yeah, the way that an attorney recently described it to me, this attorney is massively successful on social media. He said, you actually want to create content so that the prospect actually would feel a bit bad about not hiring you if they would need an attorney, meaning, you've kind of established that trust, you've really established that loyalty, right? So that there's that relationship kind of without you even realizing it. So, it's like a no-brainer decision is what, I'm trying to say, where it's like, yeah, okay, now I understand what I need. No brainer. I'm going with Jonathan Hale to continue with that example, right, Jonathan? So it's just about so much more than kind of building that trust, but it's actually, you're really building that rapport and that relationship, one to many, and it really makes for a really simple decision when that time comes.
Fabulous. So then we have the solution aware. This stage, a prospect knows solutions exist, but may not yet be aware of your specific product, your specific service, but they care about the benefits of your offer and how it will solve their problem. So in this is where you can do that positioning content to further build your trust and authority. You can talk about past cases that are similar to what they've been through. You can share here a little bit about your awards if you want to. Keep sharing that educational, actionable content that helps with quick wins, but doesn't solve all their problems, and introduce your offer. Hey, here's how we work with clients. Here's how it starts. Here's the different ways we can help you. In this instance, so let me give another example. Maybe I am looking for an estate plan, but I'm looking at LegalZoom and I'm looking at attorneys, and I don't yet know what the best approach is. And so this is where you might say, hey, here's what our estate plan offer looks like. Here's why it's better and different than LegalZoom. And here's why you shouldn't go the LegalZoom route, right? Solution aware content may be some of what you're already doing, but the goal is not to do only solution aware content, right? So in the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving through because I recognize we are at the hour mark, but we only have a few minutes left in this content. So fourth stage of awareness is product aware. And this stage, your prospect knows your product exists, but hasn't yet purchased, hasn't yet become a client. They care about proof. They care about resolving their objections, features, benefits, and points of differentiation. So again, case studies, statistics, testimonials, FAQs, behind the scenes look at your service, detailed info about your service, talk about your process. Why is your process different? What is the process? Having a process makes people feel like they're in really good hands and there's structure. In this instance, people are really close to a buying decision and just need a little bit of the right content to tip them over to the edge. To Cara's point, build that relationship and make it a no-brainer for them to take the next step with you. Then last but not least, we have most aware. In this stage, your prospect knows who you are. They know what you sell. They've likely visited a sales page, services page, attended a webinar, had a conversation, come to an in-person event. They care about the details of your offer and urgency to act now. Now, different than other industries who might give a coupon or something like that to get people to act now. In your case, it's going to be more of a let's hit hard on why the situation should be solved now, why you can't afford to wait 6 more months to solve this problem. Again, give more behind the scenes looks at your services. And this is where you put that consult form in front of them, that inquiry form. Hey, book a call with me so we can talk about your unique scenario and what I recommend you do next. Here's the thing. I just showed you 4 types of content that if you did one piece of content in each bucket every week, you would have more than enough content for a month, and it would really move people through the buying process and allow them to download your lead magnet, to opt into your inquiry form, and then move into the next step. And it's going to be far more compelling than just, here's why I'm the best, here's why my firm is amazing, here's all the awards we've won. Book a call now. Think about who you follow on social media. Go check some accounts out in your free time when you're scrolling and look at, hey, what type of content are they posting? Where does it fit into this bucket? You'll see examples of this everywhere. And it also helps you understand, why do I follow these people and what is the content that I am really enjoying and keeps me following them. We don't have to keep following people who just put kind of spammy messages in front of us. And I think that's where that kind of spammy feel comes in, when you're only doing the most aware content, or you're only doing the solution aware content, it feels spammy and like all you're doing is taking and not giving. So all this being said, there's lots of different ways you can create this content. It can be written, it can be video, it can be a combination of both. There can be beautiful images. And I'm going to let Cara speak to that a little bit because she gets very involved on that side of things, especially on the video side, because I know that can be challenging, time consuming to produce.
Yeah, I mean, video is critical, right? It's no longer kind of this nice to have, especially if you're prioritizing social media. It's just, absolutely what you need to focus on. And again, it tends to be a time commitment issue, right? Is how do I fit in, these videos and the editing and the posting and all of that. So our Marketing Amplifier program includes monthly custom videos with one single 30-minute shoot. We collect all the footage we need. So there's very, very little time commitment on your end. We handle everything else. So I'd love to chat about it. Feel free to set an appointment directly with me, even if you just want some advice. You want to talk about your marketing. I really love talking about this stuff. So feel free to set an appointment. Thanks, Stacy, for sharing the link in the chat there. But just get started. That's always just start. Sometimes that can be the toughest, the biggest hurdle to get over. I don't know what to talk about. I'm not comfortable in front of the camera. Maybe it'll be pretty rough, at the beginning, right? Maybe you might fumble through it, but you'll get better and you'll get more comfortable and you will see that engagement if you stick to it. So I would say just start, see, look at some examples, inspiration, like Lauren said, I'm happy to send those along too. We can share those in the follow-up email. I have some really good, some attorneys, some sort of attorney influencers on social media who are doing some really interesting things. They're being successful. They're generating clients on social media. It is possible and it is attainable. So, just start, let us know if you have questions, and I'll let Lauren kind of wrap it up. But this is such an important topic, important piece of your marketing this year. So I really want to see you prioritizing it.
Yeah, and so just to recap, a social media funnel comes into play because it allows you to lead followers down a clear path, convert them into leads, and put the right content in front of them so they're ready to convert into leads. When you follow these 4 steps, your social media will become a lot more successful. And I just want to encourage you, your metrics for success are going to look a lot different than other industries. It's not going to be thousands of comments most of the time. It's not going to be thousands of shares. It might be direct messages in your Instagram, might be private messages in your Instagram. It might be new emails downloading your lead magnet, new inquiry forms. So do also think about, what are my metrics for success? And if I'm feeling like I have crickets, let me implement some of these steps so that I can see the results of my social media effort. I can see that when I'm producing this type of content, I'm getting downloads, I'm getting form bookings, or I'm having people ask me questions privately. The subject matter you guys are talking about is frequently very sensitive and very private. People aren't going to be publicly putting comments on your posts unless it's something that maybe is a meme or something that's kind of more funny and lighthearted. In a tasteful way that's related to your topic. Okay, so if you guys have questions, please book with Cara. We will be sending out the replay. I also want to let you know we will be having another marketing mentor session on February 24th. The topic is going to be announced soon, but we do this every month. We really are here to educate you and help you do better with your marketing so that you can spend more time serving clients and less on marketing efforts that don't work that well for you, in your opinion. So I'm going to stick around for a little bit to answer any questions that you guys might have. And in the meantime, I really appreciate your time today. So if you have questions, you can either drop them in the chat or I can bring you on audio or video if you're open to doing that.
I'm looking back, seeing if there's anything that we kind of glossed over. There's quite a bit of chatter, so let me see.
Sean, I really like your approach to, hey, I've been doing 10 to 15 minute Q&A sessions for people you're not going to serve, but then you just ask for a Google review afterwards. I think that's really smart and going to boost your Google local listing. And let me also, really quick, for everyone who was wondering about gravity forms, let me drop a link for you here. And Anna, you're asking how to get your growing followers. Good question. So there's a couple ways to do this. One is through your organic reach, and the other is through paid. And it really depends on which platform you're talking about. So there would be very specific things I would recommend if you let me know which platform. But in general, if you create valuable content that people want to share with others, that would be how you would grow your organic reach. You can also, if you have a very clear target audience, invest in paid advertising to get that valuable content in front of more people. So let's say you're focused on males age 25 to 30 in the Denver area who, I don't know, have specific interests, outdoor interests. You could then pay the social platform and say, hey, let me get my content in front of them so that I'm getting more eyeballs on that content, but then I'm letting the value of the content do the work of getting people to follow me. The challenge is when we have a specific target audience, but no valuable content, then there's no reason for people to stick around. And I think sometimes that's a mistake too I see when it comes to social advertising is I think that just getting my ad in front of the right person is enough. And it's both. It's about your organic content and about getting it in front of the right people. Okay, you're on Facebook. It seems like people just want to share photos and funny things sometimes. Yes. And that can be really great top of funnel content as a way to capture their attention. And then when they follow you, you then put this other content in front of them, that problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and most aware content. So also understanding what role that ad is playing. And you can have layers to your ads. You can have top of funnel ads, you can have middle funnel ads, you can have bottom of funnel ads. So you could put funny content, memes, and I do recommend if you haven't watched the replay of our last session with Ali Awad that you do, and I'll drop that link in here too, but you can put that content in front of them in ads, and then you can retarget anyone who engages with your lead magnet in ads, and then retarget anyone who downloads your lead magnet with your inquiry form. And so your ad should also have a layered approach if you're going to do paid advertising to help boost your growth. And Anna, one thing I would challenge you with is, do you need more followers or do you need your current followers to turn into leads, or is it both? Most of the time it's both. And think about, okay, where is my best place to start? Is my best place to start implementing some of these 4 steps so more of my followers convert into leads, and then let me focus on growth because I know this foundational stuff is working well and I'm happy to pay more to put more eyeballs on my content. Thanks, Stacey. I appreciate that. And Jonathan is asking, how do you ask for reviews, Sean, in person, or do you send a follow-up communication? And I can't answer that for you, Sean, but would really appreciate you sharing your approach. In the meantime, Car, was there anything else you saw that I didn't answer?
I think we got to most of it. Yeah, there was some good kind of chatter engagement around your questions, but I think we got to it, Lauren.
Okay. Okay, thank you guys. We really appreciate your time. We will be sending out the replay over email later today. And if you have any questions, reach out to Cara with that link that Stacey posted in the chat.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.